talk about how I actually learn from different resources such as training videos, books, etc. I have a couple of different methods, but in this video I will focus on the Zettelkasten method, which I am using extensively. So what is a Zettelkasten method? It's an old method where you read something and something struck you as interesting. You picked up one of these little cards and you wrote down in your own words on what this interesting thing is on those cards. And then you had sort of a number on the card, a unique number on each card, and then you reference the different cards and you put them into this catalog. You can see a very old version of a Zettelkasten here. So let's say that I'm reading up on a Wyckoff upthrust, and once I've listened to all and read all I can about the upthrust, I will create a note for upthrusts and put it into my Zettelkasten. By actually using my own words and not just writing down what's been said, what I just read, word by word, but using my own words, I actually form memories much better. And I learn things a lot better. And actually, writing really makes the information stick in my head a lot better. So there's a book on how to do Zettelkasten called How to Take Smart Notes, which is a very good read. It's made by Sönke Arens. I think he's a Norwegian guy. And you should read his book if you want to get really into it. And also, I'm using a software called Obsidian, for which I will show you in a moment. But let's first look at the process of creating these Zettelkasten notes. So the first step is to read and take notes. And in my case, I look at a lot of videos. So I look at videos and I take notes. And let's take a look at that. So I'll be watching a video and I'll be watching it on my computer, my stationary computer, and then I will take notes on notability. So here is my notes from a lecture number 13 from Wyckoff Analytics. And you can see that every time he says something that I think is interesting, I write it down. And it's a combination of things that he said verbatim and my own words. And I also draw little figures and stuff like that on it. And sometimes I take screenshots of what's being presented to me and I write on top of the screenshots. So this process is actually the start where I capture the information and I start to form my memories on how and my understanding on how it works. So you can see here I write a lot of stuff, and I prefer to, well, the Wyckoff Analytics courses are live, so you have to write this stuff while he is actually talking, which is not ideal. I prefer to have the recording afterwards, go through that and pause. So whenever he says something that I think that's a great thing to know, that was well said, I will write that down and I will have time to draw all these figures. So he's talking about S bars, significant bars. So write down everything I know about, everything I hear about this. And when I write this note, I don't know what's going to be important or not. So I tend to write down too much. And it's kind of unstructured sometimes. So, but this is the beginning. And then I'll let this sit for a while. I might go through it a few days later and just scan through it, read all the notes. But then I decide to actually start doing Zettelkasten notes from this. So what I will do is I will go into my Obsidian software. So I'll switch over to Obsidian. And it looks like this. I have this note here where I have links to all the other notes. So basically Obsidian is a large local wiki system. So all of these are links. And you see I've written little essays about different things. So let's go into the Wyckoff 3 laws. We have the law of supply and demand, the law of cause and effect, the law of effort versus result, and I've written about all these three. And once I have them, I can link to other stuff. So for example, you can see that I've linked to absorption here. So I can click on that and we can go into the absorption note. And this note about absorption, it represents all the knowledge I have about absorption written down as nicely and cleanly and to the point as I can possibly make it. So I try to write these notes short and clean. So preferably I want the notes to be about half a page, but it varies. And the important thing is that you do something called active recall, which is when you write these notes, you must use your own words. You cannot just type off the stuff that you heard or read about. You must write freely from your own mind. And that forces memory connections to your long-term memory to be formed. So you can see that I have written a lot of notes here, a lot of notes. And I've started on the Al Brooks course, but, and this is from the book, Wyckoff 2.0 Concepts. I haven't written too much notes about those yet. And then you have all the Wyckoff stuff from Wyckoff Analytics and William Reardon. You can see all the different concepts, and I can just hover above one of these concepts and we can talk about springs. And I will actually create some videos from these. I've essentially created a book here by myself. And I can go in, I can refresh my mind on any of these concepts really quickly. So yeah, there's a lot here, and here are some things that I need to write that I haven't written yet. So let's go and take a look at some of these notes. Let's take a look at maybe, let's do springs. So I can do springs. Here you go. So this is all the knowledge I have about Wyckoff springs. And I will go through all of this in a future video as well. And then I can just jump back to, it's actually coming from accumulation. So you can see that if I go to accumulation, you can see that it's talking about springs somewhere. Let's find that spring. Yeah, so it's talking in phase C of the accumulation. It's talking about springs, and I have a link to springs. So these are related, and you can actually see these relations in a massive tree structure where you have all the trading concepts, and you can go and you can see how they are different, they're related to each other like this. But we're not going to use that now. So here you have change of behavior, ease of movement. And once I have these notes, whenever I stumble across information that I think is complementary, I open up one of these notes and I add a little bit of information to it. So over time, these notes will evolve and they will become more and more complete. So that's how I use Saddlecast. And let's look at so structure your Saddlecast. And once you have, first you take the notes, and then you rewrite the notes for the Saddlecast method. Then you structure your Saddlecast. And this I will get to in a different video. I use something called Anki for this, which I will do a separate video on. But here, structure your Saddlecast. So I use something called ACCESS to structure my Saddlecast. And you can learn about that over at a place called Linking Your Thinking. It's also a YouTube channel. I will link it down below, where you can learn about this particular concept. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and feel free to give a thumbs up if you find this interesting. Thanks. Bye.